After breaking down the 1-year trend line, the SPY showed some more follow through, some bearish follow through on last Friday's trading session. Oh boy, I hope you guys made some banks. I hope you guys made some money. It was a pretty straightforward day, in my opinion, on Friday. Now, I wrote in my Discord. Let me go to my Discord real quick. I wrote here in my Discord, I give the bull case and the bear case, as well as a general lean of what I think will happen, and I try to make every morning post educational to keep my members' mindset, sheep style, if you will, try to keep us on the right side of the trade of the market, But overall, I wrote in my general lean, I am leaning bearish and do favor more downside. Just need 425 to fail as support for puts to be triggered. So what do I mean by puts to be triggered? We just needed 425 to break down for us to enter puts or look to enter puts. You guys can see here on this 30-minute chart. We can look at it on 15-minute chart. Don't really matter, but 30-minute chart. You can see here, boom, it broke down 425. This was like around 10 o'clock when it broke down 425. That was our trigger to go short. And then it broke down my next level at 423.5 right there, triggering a nice level move down to 422 before we bounced here, okay? So overall, I was bearish because we broke down this 1-year trend line, and I was also bearish on the day because we broke down that 425 level. We got a little bounce off 422. It managed to clear 423.5 here intraday, and it bounced as high as 424.7, almost back testing that 425 level, right? But overall, it could not break 425. As you guys can see, 425 is where, the selling pressure broke down. It was the setup that I was watching to enter puts, and it never invalidated, all right? So we got a nice little false breakdown setup that led to a $1.77 move. That's a decent level-to-level style trade if you took it, but overall, the bears just kept control, breaking down 423.5. False breakout setup. We almost back tested a supply zone here, and then pushed back lower. False breakout setup intraday, and it led to a deeper sell-off towards the end of the day. It was a beautiful move, just trading sheep style, playing the setups, knowing the levels, knowing the setup, and trading it unbiasedly, up, down, whatever, as long as there's no greed. Overall, though, bears won for the day. Now, let's move on to the daily chart. And before I mention the daily chart, keep in mind, guys, every trade setup that happens throughout the day, I update the group throughout the day, giving us price action analysis on the go, trying to, keep making sure my members are aware of what's happening in the market from a price action perspective. So definitely consider joining my Discord if you find something like that helpful. But yeah, going to the daily chart here, it's worth mentioning that yes, we broke down that 1-year trend line, and this 1-year trend line is very important in my opinion because it's kept SPY in a bull market for the past year. Now we move to the weekly chart. This is actually the first official breakdown of the 1-year trend line on the weekly chart, okay? The last breakdown we had was never official, as you guys can see on the weekly chart. It was never official. It happened in the middle of the week. It recaptured, but it was never official. But this is the first official breakdown. So that's very bearish and definitely something worth noting that it's actually a breakdown on the higher time frame of the weekly chart. Okay? So with that being said, what's the plan? What is the trade ideas for this coming week? All right. So overall, I talked about how this was looking a pretty round and that we could potentially be trying to build some type of inverted cup. And so far, it played out decent. And I mentioned that in the last video, FYI. But yeah, it came back very close to the supply zone, right around the 420 to 420.5 zone. If bulls are going to bounce or go for a bounce, this would be a decent spot to do it. But we got to let price action be the guide. All right. For RSI users, is with my RSI 5, it's in the oversold territory now, but that doesn't mean to go long right away. We want the price action. We got to use this in conjunction with the price action. We want the price action to tell us to enter. And the way the price action will do that is by giving us false breakdown setups. All right, we got to clear some lost levels, starting with 422, 423.5, and especially 425. That was my 1.382 fib level. All right, if 425 recaptures, I would favor a back test of the 1-year trend line. All right, upper target is 426.5, 428 with the 1-year trend line at 430. We could possibly back test that as resistance, trying to confirm the breakdown, and maybe, just maybe, bears will step up there and push price lower. But in order for that back test to happen, like I said, 422, 423.5, and especially 425 must recapture. If those levels does, especially 425, I would look to long, and maybe we can play it level to level style, but possible back test, right, of the 1-year trend line to confirm the breakdown. Now, if it does go for the back test and it recaptures, that is a bullish. That is a recapture, a macro level false breakdown, potential false breakdown setup based on the weekly chart. But obviously, it will have to close above by the next Friday, right? This coming week. Okay, but overall, my recommendation: play it level to level, one level at a time. Like in life, we take it one day at a time. In the market, take it one level at a time. All right. So above 422, 423, and 425, I would favor a relief bounce and a back test. Above 430, potential false breakdown setup, which would be very bullish, and maybe bulls can W pattern their way back to the upside. W pattern back to the upside. That's only if the levels are recaptured. Now you guys can see here, 420 was a buy zone, and 420 to 420.5 was a buy zone, and we're back there again. We could get some basing. We could get some bounces. All right. Remember, if it's a dead cat bounce, play the false breakout setup. Well, overall, if we are in a downtrend since July. All right. People ask me, how did you know to be bearish? Well, we broke down a 1-year trend line, as I mentioned. The price action behavior has been bearish because we kept breaking down support levels. The last group between bulls and bears, who got trapped by the market makers the last time? When we look at a daily chart, we can see that the last group that got trapped by the market makers were the bulls, because we on the daily chart, we cleared a resistance level and then we broke it back down. False breakout setup. That was the last trappy setup based on the daily chart. It was the false breakout setup. All right. So because that was the last group to get trapped, which was the bulls, based on the false breakout setup, that's why I was leaning bearish. So there was a bunch of price action indicators that was indicating to me that we are bearish right now. All right. But like I said, 420 fails, the lower lows and lower high trend could continue. That's a bear trend. And we could get a lower low. Obviously, if we break down 420, that will be the trigger to enter puts and the sign of more downside. The sell-off continues. I got 418.3, 417, 415, 414. Excuse me. Let me do that again. 417, 415.5, 414, 412.3, and 411-ish below that, okay? We'll talk more about the low targets if we get there, but otherwise, it will need to break down 420 to trigger more downside. As far as a back test of the 1-year trend line, it needs to recapture 425, and to put in the bottom, it needs to recapture 430. Does that make sense to you guys? I hope that was clear. Trying to make it as simple as possible for the price action, from the price action perspective. All right. Otherwise, I hope you find that valuable and useful. I'm gonna move on to QQQ. All right, and I mentioned QQQ to stay bearish below 360.3 because that was the breakdown from Thursday, and it showed follow through on Friday. Okay, and we also got a breakdown of my next fib level around 354.7. Not much of a breakdown. It closed at 354.6. All right, but overall, if it can stay below 354.7, sell-off continues. All right, sell-off continues with 353, 350, and 348.4 all in play to the downside. All right, if we want to put a bottom in, well, I got resistance at 357, 359, and of course 360.3. To put a bottom in, 360.3 must recapture, and maybe we can back test the triangle pattern, which is around 363.8, and then the fib level at 365, and so on, 367, 369, and another fib level around 371. All right, overall, to be bullish, 360.3 must recapture. Otherwise, if 354.7 If that breakdown holds, we could head down a lot lower. All right. IWM continues to drop. All right. We took out that low. This low was back in March of earlier this year. That low was at 167.4. I mentioned that level to you guys. That level was lost. As long as below 165.7, 164 and 162.5 are in play. Okay. Can't get bullish or short-term bullish unless 167 what is that level again? 167.4, excuse me, brain fart, with 168.7, 171.3, 172, 173.5, and 175 as targets. Okay, gotta recapture these levels, especially 168.7 to enter longs. All right, otherwise stay bearish below 167.4, and like I said, those are the lower targets. All right, Tesla continuing to sell off, managed to close a little above my 1.5 fib level at 211.4. Guys, if that level fails tomorrow or this coming week, 211.4, that's a fib level, sell off can continue with 208, 206, 204.5, and possibly down to 200 would be in play, guys. All right. If 211.4 defends that support, I will trust the bounce when resistance clears. Starting with 213, 215, 217.6, 218.3, and there is a gap now at 220. All right, if those levels clear, maybe we can get a bigger relief bounce. Not necessarily bullish, but hey, I'll play the relief bounces. Putting above 220 would put 221.5, 223, 225, and 227. 227 is a 1.236 fib level. Those would be in play, all right? So to keep it simple, 211.4 fails, sell-off continues. If 211.4 defends, trust it when 213 and 215 recaptures as resistant or clears as resistant. Okay, Apple, I mentioned to you guys it was bearish because it kept rejecting from that 50 daily moving average. Follow through, we needed a breakdown of 175. We got that going as low as 172.6. All right, so if 172.6 fail, that, Friday's low fail, we could head down a lot lower, down to 171. 200 daily moving average is around 169.5. It could creep up a little bit, but watch that 200 daily moving average. Bulls must defend that. All right, but if lost, it's going to be very bearish with 167.6 and lower in play. All right, if it doesn't test the 200 daily moving average, for me to trust the bounce, 175 must recapture to put the 50 back in play, which is at 177.5 now, 179.3 and 181 back in play. That's the blue trend line. Okay, NVDA, yeah, still selling off. I have a critical fib level at 417.7. Stay bearish on NVDA as long as below it, okay? It closed around 413.8. That makes 414 and 416 as first resistance. If those levels clear, a back test of 417.7 would be possible. But overall, it gonna have to recapture 417.7 to be bullish. Gap, I got a gap fill around 421, and then above that, I got 423.6, 425, 428, 430, 432, and 435.5, all targets above, okay? But we're gonna have to clear and recapture 417.7 for those levels to be in play, all right? Otherwise, if below 416 and 414, next target is 412, 409.2, and possibly down to 408 below that, all right? Google got a 1-year trend line here. Well, that's not a 1 year. It's a multi-month. From March 13th low, I connected to September 26th low. A third touch would be around 133.5, all right? So definitely something to watch. In the shorter term, though, 136.4 is a fib level. It defended kind of on last Friday. Okay, if it's a dead cat bounce and that level fails as support, look to short the 134.8, that pink trend line at 133.5. And then 132.8 below that with 129.5. Obviously, below 133.5 would be very bearish, okay? I will only trust the bounce when we clear resistance. And from where it's at currently, or Friday, 138 is the next resistance. 138 clears, guys. Look to long with 140.3, 142, and 143.3 in play, okay? You play a false breakdown setup, but those levels must recapture, okay? AMD, last but not least, AMD, it could not recapture 103, as you guys can see. It tried. 101.5 is being an annoying support level. But if that breaks down, 99.5, 98, and 96 are in play. Okay, watch the breakdown of 101.5. If we're going to put in the bottom, 103 and 105 must recapture, especially 105. And if it does, I'll favor more upside up to 107.4, 109, 111.2, maybe up to 112.2. All right, guys. And let's end this with the option flow. We'll do some dark pools first. 4.6 billion in premium at the 426.6 level. 1.3 billion in premium at the 426.39 level. And a little over 500 million in premium at the 426.38 level, okay? Now, we remember, these are dark pool levels. For there to be buyers, there's sellers. So big money are buying and selling from each other at these levels that I mentioned, okay? And we know what the activities of these big money players are, so we should look at, the way I look at it, I just use them as resistant levels, okay? The lower levels, I have 1.5 billion in premium at the 421.24 level and 1 billion in premium at the 421.25 level. So big money are selling and buying from each other at that level as well. Definitely watch it as a potential support resistant level, okay? Now here is, let's go to the option flow. Try to end this at the option flow. SPY, filter for 500K premiums or above. I want to see what big money is doing, and they are bearish right now. QQQ is bearish right now. IWM is kind of bullish, a little bullish. Tesla is bearish right now, despite the flexible robots that can do ballerina or something like that. Apple, overall bearish right now. NVDA, very bearish right now. GOOG, it's bullish, and AMD. Nothing for AMD. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely consider joining my Discord so Uncle could serve you at a higher level and give you guys those trade ideas throughout the day. But other than that, have a great weekend, have a great day, great evening. Uncle's about to go to church. Hallelujah. Peace.